This is a conversation I was wanting to have with people on this YouTube channel. Does fiction affect reality? My answer is that it's not a one-size-fits-all shoe, which is already a very interesting statement. Believe it or not, there's a lot of debate on the internet as to if fiction does affect reality or not. Some people say it doesn't. It's not fiction that's causing issues. It's rather people who have their own sort of issues utilizing whatever they have around them. So, you know, it doesn't really influence them in any sort of way because the art didn't influence them to do something. It was their own personal human actions. Meanwhile, there's other people that suggest that we're all subconsciously influenced by things. We do certain things to ensure some sort of thing. Like, for example, code switching, where you have to, kind of mask yourself and kind of pretend to be a different version of you for some sort of professionability. Oftentimes, that code switching as a term is usually used primarily with black audiences or black people in mind. I wouldn't say audiences. I was in my fiction head. No. Real people, right? Um, it's usually discussed regarding people who have to kind of act more professional, and some people kind of look at it as a way of systemic racism, where it's like black people kind of have to act white and such. And it's these sort of philosophies that kind of that kind of go into the idea that fiction can affect reality. It's like if you play GTA and you want to shoot up a fucking school or run over people, um, could you get influenced by that to do that? And my thought is that it's a yes and a no. Depends on how you see the world, but that's a bit of a cop-out answer. I'll give you an actual answer regarding my beliefs. If someone is playing GTA and they want to go out and shoot a school afterwards, then my thought process is that that person has likely already had a troubled mindset to begin with. It doesn't matter if GTA was already there to, give him ideas. As long as they see something that they could kind of relate to, they could try to use it to justify anything they could possibly want. And to me, trying to limit how that exactly, which art you should give out to people because maybe it could cause problems. Maybe in the wrong hands, it could cause a bunch of issues. In regards to that, I just simply think you can't really do that. Everyone, if you got rid of like violence in media, for example, like you got rid of like Quentin Tarantino films, all those old Schwarzenegger movies, The Predator, Commando, shit, Terminator, and you're kind of getting rid of all these classic spaghetti westerns or in general just kind of crime films. If you get rid of violence depictions in media, um, people will still find a way to find something that will help them utilize some sort of thing to say, you know what, violence isn't bad. I want to kill someone, or I want to punch someone. I want to be a big tough guy, right? And I'm going to use these as kind of my inspirations, right? This usually affects people a lot more younger, so of course, most of the attention is focused as to what are younger people finding, getting into, and how do we get people to get on a good path. And the problem is, a lot of parents just don't do their jobs. A lot of parents don't raise their kids right. They put them on tablets and they don't, watch their kids because they don't, they have other things to do with their lives. A lot of people don't want to raise their kids. The internet is just kind of their own little babysitter, right? They don't need to pay a babysitter. You just put them on the internet, right? Here, get this tablet and let me watch a film. That type of thing. And if there were more parents that were more understanding and aware of what a kid, especially theirs, are watching and looking at, then ultimately I think we can make better decisions as to what kids want to see and how we can make them enjoy these sort of things and want to go for them. People that are a bit outcasts, a lot of them might not have that much of a supervision, and if they did, maybe their parents were a lot more accessible. They allowed them to watch kind of adult film, not like adult films, as in like our films. Adult films is a completely different thing. That's like the porn thing. No, no, no. I'm talking R-rated films. R-rated films, not X-rated films. Um, but yeah, like violent things in media where you got like a bunch of cursing, a bunch of violence, sometimes a little bit of sexual stuff slips in. This is something called softcore. It just depends as to the way a child has been raised up and grown up, and ultimately this affects them more than it affects in general. Banning art isn't going to solve the problem. It's not even going to dissuade it. In fact, I would argue that making certain like things somewhat illegal helps drive a black market of it, and that's always going to have that sort of effect. That's always going to exist. It's more about should we put funds into, going after these sort of things. And honestly, given how the war on topics usually goes, war on drugs or the war on terrorism, where it's kind of hard to it's more of a buzzword. You're not really fighting a war. You're more so just trying to tell people, don't do this sort of thing. We don't want you to be a terrorist. We don't want you to do drugs, right? We want you to not do these sort of things, so don't do them, right? It's a lot more of a move to try to pander to people and say, hey, we want you to act the way we want you to act. And, if you don't, we'll label you as weird. We'll label you as weird. We'll label you as all these sort of things. And truthfully, if we wanted to have a honest and fair conversation, we should have that. That's something I believe 100% we need to have more of. We need to converse. Like how I'm doing right now. I'm kind of rambling on, but I wanted to upload this because, honestly, there are a couple of things and specific scenarios that I was noticing. And I will probably get to them if I feel more interested in it in another video. Maybe now, but it is unscripted. Let's kind of go back. Do I think that fiction can affect reality? 100% it can. That's kind of like saying, can throwing a stone affect the rocks? Yeah, gravity or some sort of push, but does it affect the rocks furthest away? Maybe not so much, but at least a little bit, like a little tiny bit. Because obviously with all the rocks moving, and Rumble, it kind of has to move a little bit. But that's more of a physical thing. Does it affect the neurons in your brain? Does it affect your head, your brain, your space up there? I believe it can. There are genuine examples of people playing GTA and similar things kind of looking like GTA based off of picking up on certain ideas that they want to do. And similarly with Doom, right? One of the biggest thing, if I recall correctly, with the Columbine high school shooters, for example, they made Doom WADs, basically mods. I think they made a Doom WAD of their own high school. If that's not the case, then I know they had at least played Doom, and media was trying to go way, push this sort of idea that Doom was the cause or part of the reason why this shooting happened. People like to do that. The satanic scare of the 80s is an example where a lot of parents and media were criticizing occultist themes in heavy metal music, where there's a sort of idea of, oh, you're gonna brainwash kids, or oh, this is unlawful or ungodly. Why do you do these sort of things, right? It just kind of goes into this weird sort of fascinating rabbit hole of, does something constitute a need to, does it need to constitute some sort of ban? Does it need to be limited? Does it need to, does the expression of things need to shorten down because either you don't like it or it might affect people in some sort of way? And my answer is, I don't think art should be the answer for this. You shouldn't limit art. What people should be limiting is stuff that's happening in the real world. Art is kind of like the internet. A lot of stuff is unique to art. You can depict many things that you could never do in real life. And I'd rather have it stay that way because, truthfully, sometimes the real world is boring as fuck. And that's just dependent as to personal morals, personal values, and what you're just interested in looking at when it comes to art. And that goes with films, that goes with video games, TV shows, music, hell, even fucking pornography, I'd honestly argue. It's all these sort of ideas that, you know, can be thrown around someone's head. And does it influence people? Absolutely. But can you ban that sort of thing? It'd be a lot more harder to. It'd be kind of like a scare, like the satanic scare. You can't ban that type of thing. But to be fair, I don't think many of the people during that scare were trying to ban it, besides Christian fundamentalists, but they can't really ban it more so than they can tell people, God doesn't like satanic themes. These are the devil is trying to make all these sort of things happen, Like, you can't really go against art. Um, now, like most people kind of have this feeling of, okay, I don't really want to argue as to what is good or what is better of art. Um, I'd honestly say that if something bothers you and you don't like seeing something and it's just art, just block, ignore, move away from it. If it's like stuff online, then try to tag your things, try to tag whatever, because people want to do that in real life too. You like tag whatever it is that you're like, discussing. Like if you're having a Halloween like house, but you actually are trying to make it look super gory, you'd much rather tell people that this is kind of just gonna be a gory experience than to say, hey, just give them no ideas, give them no context. You much rather give context and to give discussion as to this is what we're doing here. You might not enjoy it, but I hope you give it a fair assessment. And that's something that happens in real life. It's kind of entertaining, but entertainment online is something you watch over and over again, basically. YouTube videos especially. Because it's all dependent as to how one should, either defend, criticize, support, whatever. My personal thought as to this whole ramble, I can sum up very easily in a couple of sentences. Does fiction affect reality? It absolutely can. I believe that it is up for the person, because the person is influenced. The art is not the problem. Instead of going after the art, we should go after issues of people doing things to real humans. Or doing things that are, something that we would never try to do, like trying to be a manipulator, class sort of thing, trying to get comeuppance, right? We don't want people to be fucking around with each other in this sort of way where, we try to kill each other, we try to rape each other, we try to make like political enemies of each other and make all these sort of debates as to all these sort of things. We can all argue at the end of the day, but I think in my head I'd much rather argue about trying to do things, especially governmentally, governmentally legally, of course. I'd much rather talk about and discuss, issues that are happening to people, not to art. And that's just kind of how it is. So basically, art can influence people. I don't think it's enough to ban certain things of art. You'll never see me want some piece of art banned, because that's just simply something I will never want to advocate for. It goes both ways. Something that I enjoy creating, someone else might have a problem with. Or something that I enjoy looking at or consuming, someone else might have a problem with. We can argue as to if something is discomforting, but should it be banned? I don't think so. And that's just kind of my thoughts on it. Yeah, that's basically it.